Ship's log, celestial date 218.255.16. We've landed the storm swept on the outskirts of a large region of a noxious fog, and as we've gotten closer, the readings indicate that there are some radiation levels, so Dagger's going to have to stay here in the ship, and I'm going to take Iris out, and I'm going to use my exosuit, which is resistant to radiation, and we're going to go out and see if we can find this engine that we're looking for on the world of Orcus. Hello and welcome, I am Scrapperlock, and this is Starforged Alpha Cluster. And we are on the grave world of Orcus with our main character, Krista Sutton. In the last episode, we tried to finish our expedition to Orcus, and we did, but we finished it with some complications. And one of those complications was our old frenemy, Brennan Shelton, has apparently gotten out of prison on bail, something, and he's got a lot of connections in the Shattered Federation. Maybe they paid his way out with the judge. We don't know. But he got out, and he was waiting for us in his snub fighter, and he threatened us, and we tried to trick him with the Kirk maneuver and get him to, try to interfere with, get him to open up his computers and let us interfere with them, and he wasn't buying it. So he then summoned in another Federation Corvette, and man, we fought a bunch of them, and we got into a battle with the two of them, and we were able to win. Took some damage to the shields of the Stormswept and the Stormswept itself, but we managed to take out both the Corvette and Shelton, and he's apparently dead. We then repaired the ship a little bit, and we then tried to get down to the planet without being stopped by the defensive platform, and it shot at us, so that's going to cause trouble when we go back up, but we managed to get down, and we discovered in our notes in the Stormswept that Pyro left that the areas of significance on grave worlds often have these greenish noxious fogs around them, and there was one nearby, so we're going to explore it. And I had originally said it was like sulfur and brimstone, and maybe that's what's there. But if we remember right, looking on the planet, where is it? The planet information on Orcus. Where is Orcus? This needs to go in here. There are radioactive hotspots, and there may be a ravaged city in here. There probably is, but it's also going to have to be, since it's a noxious thing, it should be a radioactive hotspot. So that's what we've got. This is not a delve of a vault or of a derelict. It's a delve of a world. We've done this once before, but I can't remember if we did. I guess we had a theme as well. The theme here, since it's a grave world, seems to me haunted. Right, we haven't done haunted before, so I don't think. So we're on a haunted grave world, and our explorations will be either a haunted feature, grave world feature, descriptor, and focus, and our perils will be pay the price, haunted peril, grave world peril, or story complication. So Krista begins. Well, so before we start that, I do want to make a programming note. So a couple of things. So first, again, I want to apologize. In the previous episode, I accidentally paused the video and didn't unpause, and you guys missed a big chunk of really cool, exciting combat. So I do apologize for that. Hopefully that didn't upset people too much, and the rest of the episode was still interesting. The second programming note is you probably, if you've been watching since the beginning, noticed that I've slowed down the pace of what I've been able to post. I'm only posting every few days. The main reason for that is that I had a huge backlog of videos. I recorded about 10 of these before I started posting to make sure I was happy with what I was producing and willing to post it. And so I had a big backlog, and so if I skipped a day or two, it didn't matter because I could keep posting. And I knew I was going away on a trip, so I was doing a bunch of recording and then posting it ahead of time so that it would all appear on my trip. And then I got back from the trip and I kind of got swamped with unpacking and doing some other stuff, and I've been really busy here, so that's part of the issue. So I probably won't be able to post every day. It'll probably have to be every 3 or so days, because what happens is I make a video, then usually the next day I go through and watch it and take notes, and then the next day or two after that then I'll post it, and then a day or two after that I will go through and transfer the notes, because I make the notes in OneNote, transfer them here, and then prepare for the next session. And sometimes I have to set things up. So it's going to probably be 2 or 3 times a week max that I post. The other programming note is this is our now 36th session. This campaign's not going to go forever. Ideally, I would really like to get the background vow done for Krista, but it's taking an awful long time. And I don't know whether we're going to really do that. Because we might finish these tracks, you can reset them and continue, but after doing it twice, there's sort of no point. And a lot of people on the Discord have said that once you've completely filled all these tracks and gotten all this experience, you have so many assets that kind of the game becomes too easy. And I've already got us on the higher array. I don't want to change that. That's the way this character is. So I don't necessarily want to. I don't necessarily want to make the game too easy. I feel like it's in good shape right now, but if we start getting more assets and we start stacking too many assets, I mean, already we've seen that the shields, just with the first level of it, have made battles a lot easier because every time we take damage, it just gets absorbed by the shields, right? So we can take 2 or 3 hits, 2 or 3 price pays before we have to take actual damage to the ship. We're 36 sessions in. This character's never been, I think, below 2 or 3 health, never been below 2 or 3 spirit, never been below 2 or 3 supply. Never had negative momentum, I think. Maybe once. We did have a mistake last session where we should have gone to -1 momentum, and I do apologize for that. I was supposed to deduct 2 momentum, and I deducted 1. So let's put it at 6 momentum. That corrects that, because I don't think we've burnt it since. But yeah, I mean, it hasn't been that quote-unquote hard yet. It's been, I think, playable. But if it gets a lot easier, it's going to become kind of boring. And then the other reason for this is, for those of you who've watched my channel for the Scrapper videos and the Brute videos and so on, the Stalker, you know that I have a D&D group, and I've been running a D&D campaign for a long while. We're probably coming to the end of that campaign, and after that happens, I think someone else is going to take over as game master, and then I'm probably going to remove all of the D&D stuff from Foundry, and that will give me some space. The Ironsworn stuff doesn't take much space, but the D&D stuff does, and that'll free up some space on my account, because I do this on the Forge. And once that's done, I'm going to try to purchase and install a bunch of Savage World stuff. And I'm going to try doing some solo Savage Worlds because I'd really like to try that game. So I don't know when this is all going to happen. We're just going to have to see. The other variable is in another month or so, I'm going to be starting teaching again. And so I may slow down even more. My guess would be we've got another probably 10, 15, 20 sessions left with this character. I'm not going to end it right away, but this isn't going to be like a 500 session campaign. I like to try different things, and we've tried a lot in this game. I think there's more to do, but at some point I'm going to call it and say, okay, we've done enough. Hopefully that'll be after we finish the star chart. We'll see. It's going to be very hard to get this tick, and then as we get more ticks, they're going to go faster. So we'll just see what happens. All right, so we have discovered the gravesite on Orcus. So let us go ahead and mark this with our strike through and add a milestone. And when we do that, when we reach a milestone, we take +2 momentum. Boom. So this is good for our lore hunter. And now we are doing the scavenger, and we're doing the explorer. And so we are doing an expedition. We can increase discoveries again. And so that's really good. And if we fulfill our vow, we'll get more discoveries. So we're going to be getting, hopefully, some more XP. And we do have 3 XP. I want to get a stealth module for the ship because Chris is pretty bad at Shadow. So now we're going to undergo an expedition. And there's really no kind of organization for this in Starforged. It's just you just sort of do a flowchart, or at least that's how I'm going to do it. So Krista says to Dagger, all right, there's radiation here, the Geiger counter or whatever is going, and so she says, you're not going to be able to use your environmental suit, so why don't you stay here, man the scanners, man the radios, keep an eye on things. While you're here, scan up into orbit and see if you can find a weakness, a lull in the orbital platform's movements, something that will enable us to get out of here, right? Maybe there's a time it'll be on the other side of the planet or something. So just keep an eye on it. And Dagger says, okay. And so Krista goes and turns on Iris, wakes her up and says, come on, Iris, let's go. And she gets herself into the big, chunky Titan suit. She's like 10 feet high now, and she thunks her way down the gangway of the ship and then out the airlock, down the gangway. And Iris kind of comes along, and floating in front of her is this thin, greenish fog. And, as it goes back away from her, it just obscures everything. So she just sees a haze of green. And there are some shadowed, misshapen shapes inside of it. But she's going to have to get inside the fog to even see what they are. And she radios back to Dagger and she says, all right, I'm going in. And she says, okay, come on, Iris, lead the way. And she heads into the expedition site. So let's see, what is she, before we undertake an expedition, let's get a starting area for her. And let's see what she sees. So what's the first sort of feature that she comes upon? The first feature she comes upon is going to be a haunted feature. So let's go into our location themes and pull out haunted and check the features. And what does she see? She gets a sense of eerie cold. So I judge from this, she's still basically in an area that is, shall we say, it's just sort of crumbled terrain. So let's just call it that. Crumbled terrain. And so she's in an area of crumbled terrain, and she's looking at the monitors, right? There's like a HUD, a heads-up display in her suit, and she's looking at the monitors and the temperature gauge. As soon as she steps in, the temperature gauge goes from maybe this world with a minimal atmosphere probably was, I don't know, let's say right around 5 degrees C. It goes down below freezing. Boop, 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 boop. And frost starts forming on her, and Iris kind of beeps at her, and she says, all right, Iris, turn on your internal heaters. And Iris kind of turns on its internal heaters, and a little bit of the frost melts off of Iris and starts dripping down the sides. And when it lands, it freezes again. And there's just sort of an eerie silence. And her audio sensors don't pick up anything. And she says, all right, Iris, nice and slow. Let's continue into the fog. And so now we're going to undertake an expedition. And she's using Iris. Now, I don't know, do we have... So, all right, so she can secure an advantage first by studying the area. Let's do that, right? So she has her data pad, and she has it now plugged into the exosuit, let's say, and her multipad, right, her multi-scanner. And so the scanner is doing the scanning, but the readout is coming onto her heads-up display. And she's going to scan the area. But she's not in a safe position. So she's just going to scan the area and then go ahead and undertake her expedition, because this is not a safe position to study it from. So, so I guess we're just going to undertake an expedition. I'll retcon that. So anyway, she's got the multi-scanner. They're going to head forward, and Iris is with her, which gives her +1. And we're being careful and staying vigilant. And rolling wits. And so we get a strong hit. We reach a waypoint, envision the location, and mark progress. So, I've got to set up the progress. Hang on, let me set up the progress track. All right, so this is a dangerous delve. As I don't want it to be too long, so I've made this a dangerous delve. We've marked 1 progress, and we envision the area. So let's go back to our roll table and find out what we see. We get another haunted feature, which will be another eerie. It stays eerily cold. She sees no additional features. It's pretty blank here, and we again get eerie cold. So go ahead and mark that. So they continue forward, and they don't really find much of anything. They find some crumbled things that may have been buildings. It looks like maybe the outlines of buildings, but there's really no features here yet that provide them with any information. They're going to need to find this thing in a building somewhere or underground or something. So Krista says, okay, let's try looking over there, and they're going to head a little bit westward. Okay, we'll try going this way. And we're going to, once again, undertake an expedition. And we get a weak hit. So we're definitely going to face a peril, because perils are cool. So we mark progress. And what do we see? We once again get a haunted feature. Glimpses of shadowy movement. Okay, well, that makes the peril sound interesting. So they continue, and it's still pretty empty, but there are glimpses of shadowy movement. Wait, I want to change the font so it's a little more condensed. There we go. So what's the peril going to be? Pay the price. So there's glimpses of shadowy movement, and then we're going to pay the price. And let's just roll it and see what it gives us. You are harmed. Okay, so I think there's glimpses of shadowy movement, and they walk past this tall stone thing that could be natural, but it might have been a built structure or part of a wall, and there's a glimpse of shadowy movement, and then it falls over on top of Krista and slams into her Mark II suit. So she has this lumbering suit. So I think that this is going to damage the suit and not Krista, right? It's armed with weapons. When you make a forceful, damaging, or resistant move, you may have to roll and replace the value of your action die. So we're going to be resisting, enduring harm. But we can replace the value of the action die with the rig's integrity. So I think this is going to be 1 harm. Yeah, I'm not sure that works. I think that, well, let's see. All right, so let's endure harm. We'll take the harm. We'll endure the harm. We get a strong hit, so we don't have to replace it with integrity. We shake it off. So I think that makes sense. So the thing crumbles down and crashes into her, and she, like, the exosuit drops to its knees, but then Krista is able to get back up and shake it off, because the exosuit is pretty tough. And she's going to look around at this point and say, she's going to turn on her scanner and try to scan for what the heck did this to me, right? And so she is going to secure an advantage. Or is it gathering? I think she's going to gather information, I think. Yeah. She's going to gather information. She's going to say, or she's going to use her scanner to see what just attacked us. And we get a weak hit. So we envision what we discover and take +1 momentum. So what do we discover? Let's click story clue. 6. Connects to a known rumor or scandal. Okay, so somehow this is going to connect to the interference engine, perhaps. We want to explore the waypoint. Let's get a little more information. Let's explore the waypoint. Right, she's checking this whole area to see if to see what's here and to see if she can find out what just caused that thing to fall on her. And we can take +1 momentum on a hit for this. Yeah, so I guess what I should have done was secure an advantage and then use that with this, but we'll leave it the way it is. Oh boy. All right, so we get a weak hit. We uncover something interesting, but it is bound up in a peril. So we take +1 momentum. So we got full momentum. What? So here. So here's something connects to the interference engine, but we've got a peril. So let's roll the peril. And this time we get a Grave World peril. So let's see what we get. Wait, doesn't it have, don't they have perils? Oh, a lifeless world. Okay. They don't have an individual peril for it. All right, so it's a lifeless world. What peril do we get? An enemy holds this area. Okay, so the dark shadowed thing was some kind of an enemy. And it holds this area, and maybe it holds the interference engine, or yeah, maybe it's a group of something that holds the interference engine. So let me look through the book and see if there's anything, any type of creature that I think is appropriate, or we'll make one up. Well, guys, I think the most obvious thing is a ghost, right? These are formidable enemies. And so we'll create a battle against the ghost. And it is formidable. And so ghosts are restless spirits that manifest through unsettling disturbances like the wall just being knocked on us. They appear as they did in life. So we're going to have to figure out what this thing looked like. They haunt the living. They lure and isolate with subtle visions and reveal horrifying visions and unleash chaos. So I don't think this is going to be like a regular shoot 'em up combat. Right? This is going to be more like, can Krista avoid being lured by this thing? Let's imagine what did this thing look like? It is large sized, right? So this is like something the size of, I don't know, a bison. It's on land, so its basic form is, roll twice. Let's try again. Its basic form is some kind of a ghost plant that looks scarred and feathered. Why are they always feathered? We're rolling that again because that's just silly. Too many feathered things. Iridescent and scarred. And so what I'm going to do is, let's edit this, and in the description here, so what I'm going to call this is a ghost. So what should this be? A ghost tree. Some kind of a, like, almost like an ent. Whoops, no. Almost like an ent, right? Where this thing is, let's delete this and put it back. So hang on. I have to fix this. The prototype token never changes. Oh, it did change its word. Okay. So I'll put it down here this way. Ugh. every time it doesn't do what I want it to do. So hang on, let me fix it and I'll bring you back. Okay, yeah, sorry. By default, these things set up to never displayed, and I always forget to change them. All right, so what she sees when she looks around is this gnarled, what looks like a gnarled, broken tree bottom, like the stump of a tree, but really wide, and it goes up maybe 10 feet high and then cuts off as if someone chopped it. And there aren't even any facial features on it, and it's got these limbs, and it's sort of faded, right? And then it sort of disappears. And Krista says, "What the heck was that?" And we're going to enter the fray. And I think she's kind of caught in a trap. So we're rolling wits. And we get a strong hit. We can't take +2 momentum, but we're in control. So Krista says, "What the heck is that thing?" And she's going to turn her scanners on it, and she's going to head toward it and run the scanner, the data scanner. And she says, "Iris, scan that thing." And Iris beeps at her and tells her there's nothing there, right? And she said, "Well, just scan in that direction." And she points. And so Iris is going to scan over there, and we're going to gain ground. And again, I think we're studying the situation, so we're using wits. Now, Iris can't help her here, right? Because Iris only does it the +1 when undertaking an expedition. So we get a weak hit, which we can burn momentum to get a strong hit. Let's keep the weak hit. We don't need momentum, and we'll go ahead and mark progress. So, so she detects where this thing is. And she says, "I don't think we should go over there yet because I'm not sure what this is. Let's split up. You go that way and I'll go the other way, and we'll try to get on 2 different sides of it." So she sends Iris over here, and she's going to come over here. They're going to kind of flank it, but she's nowhere near it, right? She's keeping a distance. And let's see if they can successfully make that maneuver. This is a maneuvering roll, so we're rolling edge. And we get a miss, but we can burn momentum to get a strong hit. Let's do it. And we can choose to mark progress and take +2 momentum. So we'll do that. So they managed to flank this thing, and then what Krista's going to do is she's going to open up a comm link and say, "Hello, hello, who is there? Who are you? What do you want? Can you show us to the interference engine?" And we're gaining ground. And I think this is with heart, negotiating, right? So she says, "Look, my name is Krista Sutton. I don't mean any harm. I'm not trying to disrespect this place. I just want to find one object. It's called the interference engine, and then we'll leave. Can you show us where it is?" And so we're going to roll heart. And we get a weak hit. We stay in control, and we mark progress. So I think the ghost reappears, right? It's not going to do what she wants, but it reappears in front of her. And Krista says, it reappears in front of her, and let's say it starts drifting toward her, and Krista gets a sense that this thing is not friendly. So she says, "Iris, disco." And Iris is going to shoot out all her lights and try to confuse things. So I think this is misdirecting, so we're rolling shadow. And we get a weak hit. We stay in control, and we can mark progress. So I think the ghost turns around and faces Iris and is sort of dazzled by her. And Krista says to Iris, "Keep its attention for a minute," and she's going to try to move away and try to avoid this ghost, right? And just try to get away from it. And hopefully it won't see her. So this is, again, I think, rolling shadow, right? Misdirecting. So we're gaining ground, rolling shadow, and we get a strong hit. So we get 2 momentum, and we mark progress. So the ghost is now totally distracted by Iris. So Krista then, We need to get Iris out of here, right? The ghost is turned to face Iris. So Chris is then going to look and see, is there is there one of these larger structures, that fractions of a wall, broken pedestals of something, like part of a statue? Is there something nearby that she could sort of bring down in between the ghost and Iris to sort of confuse the ghost so that Iris can get out of there without it seeing her? And I think this is, she is studying the situation. It's sort of like securing an advantage, so we're going to roll wits. Oh, and we miss. So as she's looking around, I think the ghost is going to pay attention to her now. And then, or is the ghost going to attack? I think the ghost is going to attack Iris. The ghost drifts toward Iris and floats through her. Right? So the ghost is going to potentially do damage to Iris. Right? So this is collateral damage, has unintended effect. A companion is put in harm's way. Okay, I think that makes the most sense. So Iris is going to take 2 harm. It potentially short circuits her, and now we're going to have to do the companion endure harm. Companion takes a hit. Right, I think this is serious harm, so she takes 2, and we can try to test her and see. I don't think we want to test her. We only have a 1 on this die. +1. We could take a miss and get a lot of damage. So Krista says, darn it. I'm going to have to attack this ghost now. Because being nice didn't work. What's the ghost now going to do? The ghost now makes a cautious or probing attack. I think the ghost flies through Iris and then turns back and is going to sort of reach out toward her again, but cautiously, not going to go all the way through her. And so Krista says, Iris, get the bleep out of there. And she's going to move forward, and I think she's going to fire her beam weapon. She knows it probably won't affect the ghost, but she's going to fire her beam weapon at the ghost anyway. Yeah, they like to unleash chaos and horrifying visions, but that wouldn't affect Iris. So it's going to try to probe her, and Chris is going to try to blast at it and try to distract it. So she's reacting under fire. And I think this is getting back into position. So we're rolling edge. And we get a strong hit. We succeed in entering control, +1 momentum. So she blasts it. The blasts do not harm the ghost, but it distracts the ghost enough that Iris is able to get away. And Krista can interpose herself between Iris and the ghost. And so now we're in control. There was no progress made. But what she's going to do is she's going to say, all right, ghost, I tried to be nice, but you wouldn't have any of it. So she moves forward, and she's going to get the vibroblade to come out, and it's surrounded with like electric shocks or whatever, and she's going to try and jab at the ghost to try and like use the electricity in the vibroblade and the vibrations to kind of disrupt it, right? Almost like trying to like disperse it. She knows it won't work forever because ghosts can't die, but she's trying to get it out, just sort of like make it so that they can get out of here. So she's going to try to disperse it. So this is a strike. And she is going at make a forceful, damaging, or resistant move. You may, after rolling, replace the value of your action die with the rig's integrity. This is a forceful move. So we're rolling iron, right? She's assaulting him at close quarters, and she rolls. We roll iron. No extra bonuses, and we get a miss. However, we have +2, and if we replace the 1 with a 6, 6 plus 2 is 8. That's still a miss. So this doesn't work. The ghost is immune to that, and we now pay the price. So the obvious prices for this would be what? I think stressed. I think she takes 2 spirit, and we're going to have to endure stress. Because it didn't work, and the ghost kind of like makes this, all of a sudden this like inhuman face appears in the tree, and it screams out at her, and Krista just is terrified by this, and she gets visions of death and decay sent toward her from this ghost, and she's going to endure stress. So we took 2 stress, and now we're going to roll. And we get a weak hit. We can lose 1 momentum in exchange for 1 spirit. So we will do that. She goes back up to 4 spirit. So she tries to shake it off, but she's still a little nervous. And now that she's closed with this thing, she doesn't want to be closed. So she's going to try to back off, and this is reacting under fire. She tries to disengage with it. Oh, wait. No, it gets to make a move. According to my rules, it gets to do something. So what's it going to do now? Because she's not in control. It is going to move in. Okay, so it is now going to try to fly through her. And Krista is going to try to engage the boot jets and jump this thing out of the way. It can't fly, but it can jump a little bit further than a human could, and maybe surprise the ghost by jumping out of the way. So we're reacting under fire. If we fail, then it flies through it. So we're reacting under fire, and we're maneuvering. And we're not making a damaging or resistant move. So no help from that. We get a weak hit. We avoid the worst, but not without cost, a suffer move. So I think that it delays us. She jumps out of the way, but she's now separated from Iris, and the ghost is in between them, because it tried to fly through her, and now it's kind of like in between her and Iris. So Krista starts cursing, and let's see, what can she do? I think she's going to try and disengage from it again. We know that the blasting, right, the laser blast stuff worked a little bit better than the vibroblade. So we want to get at range. We want to get out of the way. So Krista is going to try and back away from it and see if she can put some range between it and her. And she calls Iris back over to her to come a little closer so they can get closer together. So let's react under fire, and we're maneuvering. We get another weak hit. Again, I think it delays her, and the ghost just sort of stays with her. And now what's it going to do? Create a distraction. Okay, so I think what the ghost is going to do is it's going to use its abilities, right? The ghost has the ability to reveal horrifying visions. So all of a sudden, Krista gets horrifying visions of death and destruction, and all of these trees that lived on this world dying and screaming in pain as they die. Sort of ants being like wiped out by fire or something like that. And she has to, I guess, again react under fire. I think she has to react under fire, and I think she's being stalwart against fear. So this is a heart roll. And we get a strong hit. We get 1 momentum, and she takes control. So she sees these awful visions, but she shakes it off, and she says, no, This is not happening now. This happened a long time ago, and I had nothing to do with it. She screams out through the loudspeaker at this creature. I had nothing to do with it. And she is going to just let's see. So she's going to try to gain ground. She's going to say, I had nothing to do with it, and I'm sorry for your people, but we're leaving. And she is going to again try to disengage from this thing and get the heck away. So this is maneuvering. We get a strong hit, so we mark progress, and we gain 2 momentum. And once she's away from it, she's going to blast it again with her blaster, right? To try and, because that seemed to like distract it before, and she's going to blast it with her blaster and see if she can kind of confuse it, right? And so this is a strike with edge. And we get a weak hit. We mark progress twice, but we're in a bad spot. So she hits it, but the ghost, part of it seems to like dissipate, but then it reincorporates itself. And it is going to summon aid or reinforcements. Oh, that's not good. So it's going to summon another ghost. Suddenly behind Krista, another ghost appears. And Krista curses. And unfortunately, guys, this turns this into an extreme fight, which I really don't want to do. So now we got to edit the progress here because we have 8 progress, but we have 8 progress on an extreme fight. And so there's another ghost behind her. And Krista is kind of stuck. So she says, all right, I guess we're going to have to fight these things. Iris, disco. And we are reacting under fire. And she tries to get Iris to create this light show again, causing a distraction, rolling shadow. And we get a strong hit. We get control. We take momentum. So it distracts both ghosts. And Krista is then going to try and get away from them and kind of join up with Iris so that the ghosts are, she's not like flanked by the 2 ghosts. So let's roll gain ground. And she's maneuvering with edge. And we get a weak hit. We stay in control and mark progress. We definitely want to mark some progress here. And then she's going to turn around and she's going to use her weapons to blast at both ghosts. She's going to take a shot at each one while Iris is still doing the disco distraction. And so we strike. And we're rolling edge with the blasters. And we get a strong hit. 2 progress. So now we're at 5 progress. And the 2 ghosts kind of back away. They're not sure what to do now. This creature should be afraid of them. They should have been able to defeat it. So they kind of back away. And Krista is now going to try their strategy. Near them are some fragments of broken walls and other signs of civilization, you know, part of a statue, part of a pillar. And she's going to use her blasters to hit those things and try to knock them over on one of the ghosts. So this is gaining ground. And I think this is gaining leverage, right? So wits. And we get a strong hit. So we mark progress. And we gain a momentum. So one of the ghosts is kind of buried under this thing. And it reforms slowly, but it's taking a little while. It like sort of, it gets completely submerged under a pile of rocks, and then you see wisps of sort of what looks like steam coming out and slowly reforming. But at the moment, there's only one of them, while the other one reforms. And then Krista is going to take that opportunity to turn her blaster on the other one and just let loose with blaster fire. And this is a strike. And rolling edge. You get a weak hit. We mark progress twice, but we're in a bad spot. So she hits that one, but the other ghost reforms, and it actually doesn't reform. It like comes up behind her. So what are the ghosts going to do? They're going to Leverage the advantage of a weapon or ability. So I think they're going to send visions of horror at Krista again. And Krista's going to have to react under fire. Rolling heart. And she gets a strong hit. We're at 10 momentum and we're in control. And Krista is not frightened by this. And she says, Iris, let's get out of here. And we're going to try and take decisive action. And we get a weak hit. So on take decisive action, on a weak hit, what happens? 16. It's worse than you thought. Make a suffer move at -2. So they get out of there, but I guess the momentum comes down. I think spirit, right? I think realistically, they get out of there, and Krista's screaming and just like, let's get out of here, let's get out of here. Iris follows her, and they manage to get out of this place, and the ghosts sort of stay behind. So we're finished with that track. And now we have to make a suffer move. So we endured stress. Now we're rolling heart. Okay, we get a strong hit. We can shake it off a little bit. So, but we're still low on spirit. Krista is, so they get out of there, and they just stop, and Krista is like sweating inside the suit, and she's panting, and Iris is sort of damaged, a little sparks and short circuit coming off her because Iris has been hurt a little bit too. And Krista says, man, that was one heck of an encounter, but hopefully that leaves the ghosts behind. And now she says, let's keep going. Let's try to go somewhere safe, if there is anywhere safe on this world. And we undertake an expedition once again. And we're staying vigilant. Oh, and there's another +1 to that. But it's a strong hit anyway, because I forgot to add irises, but it's a strong hit. So we mark progress, and we envision the waypoint. And there's no danger here. So what do we see? Descriptor and focus. A pillaged path. Okay. So they come upon what looks like it might have been a city street at one time, but it's all ruined and broken, and there are what looks like there may have been homes along the side, like buildings that had been looted and pillaged, and whatever was inside them is now like pretty much empty. And Krista's curious about this, and she doesn't really learn her lessons about these things. So now that she's past this area with the ghosts, she says, well, there can't be any more ghosts. Let's explore this. And let's see what she finds. We get a miss, but we can burn momentum for a strong hit. Wait a minute. That's a 5, but doesn't she have assets? No, just +1 momentum on a hit. All right, so let's burn the momentum, and we can find an opportunity or mark progress. Let's find an opportunity, something favorable, and take +2 momentum, and +1 momentum on a hit for the asset. So what do we find that's an opportunity? Is there an opportunity for the planets? There isn't. There's just a planet opportunity. Okay, so let's see what we got. So this is a grave world opportunity. This is a lifeless opportunity. We get an abandoned vehicle or an abandoned camp. Okay, so there's some sort of an abandoned vehicle. It's on a road, right? So she comes up on some sort of an abandoned vehicle. What the heck does the vehicle look like? So let's call it. I mean, it's not. We're not going to delve, but let's call it a derelict. Um, Blocked access. That doesn't help me. Sending a signal or message. Okay, so she comes to a vehicle and her suit picks up some sort of a message. So what does it look like though? What kind of a vehicle is it? See if this helps. Move nature. Okay, so what she sees here is some sort of a tractored vehicle that has the remnants of some kind of remnants of branches and tree trunks, some kind of like a logging vehicle with tractors and like a front, like a spherical front cab, and then a long oval back with tractors on it, like a long oval bed with tractors on it, and then these piled the bodies of these tree people. So whoever lived here was killing the tree denizens. So someone came here, colonized this planet, started killing the tree people that lived here, and that's why the ghosts are haunting um, this area. Is this metal, is this vehicle made out of the green metal that we've seen in other places? I don't know, 50-50. No. So it's some other kind of metal. And the cab of this truck is sending out some sort of a signal. So Krista is going to go here, right? And she is going to see if she can figure out how to interpret this signal. We're going to gather information. So she's going to open the door to the cab and look inside and see if she can figure out anything about this. Is this going to give her a clue as to where to go next in this graveyard, or anything, or tell her anything about the graveyard, this world, this section of the world? So let's gather information. Rolling wits. Wait, we get bonus. It's a weak hit, but let's just check this. Add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. So we actually got an 8. So that's actually a strong hit. So what does a strong hit say on here? We discover something helpful and specific. The path is clear, +2 momentum, and +1 for the asset. So something helpful and specific. So does it have in it, perhaps, is it like, is there some sort of a homing beacon to where the interference engine might be, or at least where the key to this delve site would be? I think that's very likely. Yeah. So there's like a little. Chris is able, even with the stubby fingers of her exosuit, to bring up like a little map, and it shows where she needs to go next. And yeah, I think that's, yeah. So it shows her where she needs to go next. So that helps. We got extra momentum, and now she knows where she needs to go on the next step of this delve, right? I think that's reasonable. So she's going to continue, and then the path actually leads this way. Let's say, doesn't matter, to another area. And we're going to undertake an expedition. And I guess this will probably be our last move of the night, but let's see what happens. Helped from Iris. And we get a weak hit. So we're going to face another peril, but we make it to another spot. So we'll face the peril next time. Let's see what we envision here. We end up again with a haunted feature. Spectral sounds. Okay, so it seems like the ghosts are still around. Spectral sounds. And did we mark progress? Yeah, we did not mark progress. So we made some progress. We got spectral sounds, and there's a peril. And the peril is going to be a haunted peril. Trickery leads you into danger. Well, I don't know what that's going to be, but I suspect these ghosts might be back. So we'll figure that out next time. This has been a long episode. I feel like that's reasonable since it's been a couple of days. Probably what I should have done was do it for 2 half-hour sessions or something, but I didn't realize how long we had gone. So we're pretty far through this delve. I think we got to get away from whatever this peril is, and then maybe we can try seeing if the next step is where we need to be. But until next time, I am Scarperlock, and this has been Starforged Alpha Cluster.